Hey guys, I think I'm still stuck in the labyrinth. The escape rope got everybody else out, but it left me behind. Help!
For many of us, Dragon Ball Z was our first anime. I think I might have been 6 or 7 when I first started watching it, and it was incredible. The serialized storytelling was something I had never experienced because when I was a kid, pretty much every cartoon was just simply episodic, which was fine for the time, but when serialized storytelling came around, it just absolutely blew me away. And then we get to the first major arc. Yes, the Saiyan saga is a serious arc, but this time we get to a planet, Namek, after a bunch of heroes have died, and the stakes are so high. We have never seen them this high before, and for a little kid, this was crazy. You have a bad guy who we just beat in the previous arc, who's incredibly afraid of the bad guy of this arc. So now you're like, holy crap, what's going to happen? This other guy must be insanely powerful. And he was. Now, I know later on, power levels became more of a background noise rather than being so intense. But during the Frieza arc, that was everything. Everybody's power levels was incredibly important, and it stressed you out when you knew that the good guys had such incredibly low power levels and they were dealing with enemies that were insanely powerful. How are the good guys going to win? And it was a struggle, and it was incredible. In my opinion, there are 2 points in the entire series that are the absolute peak. Which you have the Frieza saga, which, of course, as I've been talking about briefly, is incredible. Frieza is an incredible villain. He's evil, he knows he's evil, he doesn't care that he's evil, and he's got the power to back everything he says. And then finally, when he gets somebody who's actually his match, when Goku goes Super Saiyan, he starts getting cowardly, he tries to trick, he can't win in a straight fight because Goku's power has increased so much. Frieza, of course, was the first enemy with multiple transformations that I had ever seen in anything. With his first form being that small form, then he gets taller with his second form. And of course, with his third form, he was a nod to the Alien franchise with the xenomorph kind of design. And of course, we have his famous fourth form, which is pretty much the form we see him from the rest of the series on. He was so popular, they brought him back in Dragon Ball Super pretty much with the second movie. And he's been back throughout the entire Dragon Ball Super series. But the thing is, I don't think that's the actual peak for the anime. In my opinion, the actual peak is much later. The Cell Saga is, in my opinion, the best. The absolute peak of Dragon Ball Z. I know some people like the Buu Saga, but for me, it was a downgrade from the Cell Saga. I'm pretty sure at this point during the airing on Toonami, Dragon Ball was also being aired. So the Red Ribbon Army was already known to me, and it had this build-up of the storyline. This group of bad guys were back. They were also not just simply back, but they were taking information and data from all the fights that have happened over the series up to this point to program them into the androids to make them even stronger. You had Trunks coming from the future trying to change the past because he lived in a world that was destroyed by these bad guys. And it just raised the stakes. You had all these issues going on. And then it got even crazier. Trunks and Gohan find a second time machine. And it turns out it's the exact same as Trunks' time machine, only this one's been destroyed and left out in the wilderness. And then it begins. The giant green bug man going around and devouring entire cities. The shock factor and horror of this character just straight up doesn't fit the rest of the series. Just those couple moments where he's literally just absorbing people into himself. It's horrifying. And at this point, I think I was probably 9-10 years old, and it really was like, holy crap, I've never seen anything like this. This thing is a complete monster. And you see, one of the other reasons that I love this entire story arc was my favorite character was Gohan. Probably because I was so young when I watched it, he was also around my age, so I really enjoyed that. The only thing is that, sadly, it was after this arc where Gohan really stepped back and we got the great Saiyaman. But anyways, I absolutely love this because he had to step up. One of the things is, yeah, he's a reactive character, not a proactive character, which is why it's tough for him to be a main character. And I can see why Toriyama didn't really want to have him be the main character. But the fact that he was a reactive character worked with this storyline because of how much Cell was a proactive villain. After being pushed to his absolute limit and Android 16 being destroyed, Gohan succeeds in going Super Saiyan 2, something that was being hinted at and shown as being incredibly difficult to do because Trunks and Vegeta had, I believe it's called Super Saiyan Grade 1.4 or something like that, where they almost did the transformation, but they failed, so they became muscular. But Gohan pulls it off. Then the fight ends with something we've never seen before. A one-handed Kamehameha. And it's just so unbelievably amazing, and the emotional points of it, Vegeta coming in to help, it's just incredible. And Goku giving Gohan the little push to do the one move. It's great. And I think that it is the absolute peak of the anime. And it's pretty funny how we would not have gotten the Cell Saga the way we did if the Shonen Jump board and editors didn't force Toriyama to keep changing the arc, which is probably why the Buu Saga got so weird, because he just, at that point, was like, F it, I'll do what I want. So yeah, I think the Cell Saga was the peak of Dragon Ball Z. But hey, feel free to tell me if you think I'm wrong.
Hey, does anybody have a map? I can't find my way out of here.